We welcome you back. The Tim Brando Show continues. You know, in this age of individual instruction in golf, we were talking about this at the top of the show with regard to Phil Mickelson's swing coach changing with Butch Harmon now taking over for Rick Smith. And, you know, it's interesting. Anybody that's ever played baseball, you know, a lot of times you have a coach and you go with that coach. You have a hitting instructor with a team. You kind of go with him. Now we've taken it to a different level, I think, in baseball. And now individual players that try to improve themselves on a regular basis, which I think obviously is the case with Manny Ramirez, seek help elsewhere. And this story revolving around frozen ropes and Tony Abbatine particularly, I found intriguing, and I wanted to get in touch with him. He's up in New York. About an hour north of New York is where one of the facilities are located. And there, I think, Tony, thanks for coming on the show, number one. Really happy to have you and to talk about this and how you have evolved, how this has evolved into a major industry across the board. But give me, so people understand your background, give me a quick snapshot of how Tony Abbatine and Frozen Ropes came into being.
Well, Tim, I guess 15 years ago when I couldn't hit as a high school and slightly below average college player, I was always enamored as to why some guys could hit a curveball and why other guys could not. I guess for the last 15 years I've been on a journey to find out why people like Manny Ramirez or an Alex Rodriguez or the best of the best both in baseball and softball, what do they do differently in the way of their visual skills that allows them to be the best in their game. With that really came the beginning of Frozen Ropes, the baseball and softball instructional schools that we have all over the country and in Canada and now even in Europe. It really has been, the impetus behind it has been on pitch recognition and visual skills, knowing that whether you're 9 years old or at the major league level, if you can't see it, you're not hitting it.
Yeah, right, indeed. That being said, what were you able to determine? Because as I mentioned, I used the golf analogy a bit earlier because hitting a stationary ball there, and you see all the tweaking that's done by these pros, and it's not just Mickelson and Woods, it's everybody, okay? For you as a person that understands the visual mechanics and teaching proper visual mechanics, what is it that is the difference for a guy like a Manny Ramirez? And I know, by the way, from a pitching standpoint, Mariano Rivera swears by you as well. So you can use it really in two different areas. I think obviously those that are delivering the ball want to know what the key is too. So help me out.
Well, you know, when you look at the time frame that major league hitters are under, Tim, they have about 100 milliseconds for the eye to actually see the ball and send an image to the brain. I mean, think about that. That's literally 1/10 of a second, right, for them to see it and for that image to be processed to the brain. The typical major league hitter usually has about another 3/10 of a second to start his swing. So when you're talking about visual mechanics, an improvement of a fractional second will allow, whether it's a Manny Ramirez or Barry Bonds, they're able to see the slider, to see the curveball, or to see the lane of the fastball a bit sooner. And really, when I started researching this area, you know, looking at the human eyes as to what they are physically capable of doing, and all the research said that it's literally impossible for a batter to actually see the ball hit the bat. And think about how many times, whether it's at the Little League, high school, or even at the major league level, the traditional advice of watch the ball hit the bat, you can't do that at 90 miles an hour because that major league hitter has to make a decision to swing when that 90-mile-an-hour fastball, which is being thrown not from 60, but from about 55 feet away once that 6-foot pitcher strides, they've got to make a decision to swing when the ball's halfway there. And you certainly wouldn't tell major league hitters this, but they can close their eyes the last half a second because by then they've already made a decision as to what it is when it's arriving.
Yeah, and we've seen that before. There have been illustrations of that in the past. We're visiting with Tony Abbatine, who is the director of Frozen Ropes, a magnificent concept. And as we mentioned, it's more than just working with individual players. This is available for everyone at every level. And by the way, we should mention, if you want to find out more, go to frozenropes.com to find out more on Tony's work with his company. Listen, the idea or concept, maybe we can destroy some myths here. Um, is it true that a left-hander, okay, Bonds in particular comes to my mind, we hear it sometimes in golf, a left-hander may be right-eye dominant. And if you're right-eye dominant, that might help you, for instance, with putting, seeing the line, that kind of thing.
Yep.
Is there an advantage for a left-hand hitter if, in fact, he has a stronger right eye to pick up the ball?
Well, Tim, interesting point, and I know for the first few years as we looked at the research, and when I say we, my background, I have a law degree, and I coached at the high school and at the college level. I mean, so I certainly was not ready on my own to go and look at all of the information and the research studies and the medical clinics that were going on. So in talking to some of the best eye doctors in the world, what I guess the consensus is now is that, yes, the right eye dominant theory as it relates to left-handed hitters, which prevailed for many years, the mindset seems to be now is that once you introduce movement, that the left or right eye dominant theory has less credibility.
Okay.
So that if you're looking at a static object, if you're looking straight ahead, and the classic test that you would do with players, and even at the major league level, they used to do this with hitters, you'd close one eye, you'd look at a point 20 or 30 feet in front of you, and once that point moved, depending upon what eye was closed, would dictate left or right eye dominant. Now the eye doctors are telling us that once you introduce movement, it's less of an issue. So that 90-mile-an-hour ball that's coming in on Barry Bonds, the fact that he might be right-eye dominant is less of an issue as compared to, is he learning and is he using both of his eyes in stereo or in a binocular way so that both the left and the right eye are fusing the picture together so he's able to see things better than most.
Tony Abbatine, International Director of Instruction, Frozen Ropes Training Centers. By the way, you can go to his website at frozenropes.com to find out more. With us here on the Tim Brando Show. Hey, I wanted to discuss how the whole relationship with Manny Ramirez came about, because that I think really began to get you some national attention and some even international attention. How did that develop? I know you're in constant contact with him on a weekly basis, probably talk to him a couple of times a week, and also with Rivera, because now I noticed Rick Peterson is your national pitching director for Frozen Ropes, the Mets pitching coach.
Well, Tim, you mentioned two pretty good hitters, and some people would say probably the best and the most innovative pitching coach at the major league level. First, Manny. I actually met Manny while I was working for the Boston Red Sox a few years ago on the same topic, really lecturing the Red Sox coaching staff and some of their minor league players on visual mechanics and pitch recognition and understanding why head position and the front foot, which in our world we call the tripod of the swing, how important that was to get it down and to get it down on time. Manny was curious, and I guess all great athletes in the never-ending quest to get better and to improve found this information interesting. And in the off-season, I guess 3 years ago, we got together for a few days, and Manny was just not only so curious, but wanted to know more, and more importantly, wanted me to put together a pregame and a preseason hitting program that would challenge his visual skills. From that, we decided to partner and actually put together a very unique and innovative, I thought anyway, hitting video called For Your Eyes Only. I mean, the amount of videos and information that's out there on swing mechanics is plentiful.
Yeah.
What I thought would be interesting is to actually put together some information for the amateur level and even some major league players who have looked at it since then on how do you improve hitting, but never talking about hitting in the swing, and really just talking about the eyes and how the clearer picture, if you see it longer, if you see it sooner, your body will learn to take over and simply respond to that stimulus. And since that time, Manny, again, as one of the best hitters in the game, certainly over the last decade, constantly fine-tuning and providing him with new drills and new training programs that gives him the edge.
How did the A-Rod thing occur? Because I know Manny suggested to A-Rod, right?
Like most other great players, hang out with other great players. and Manny living in the off season in Miami, Florida, and Alex Rodriguez also living down in the Coral Gables area. They were hitting together or had a discussion, and Manny was talking about frozen ropes and the relationship that he has with us, and the relationship and the consulting work that I was doing at the time for the Colorado Rockies and the New York Mets and even the New York Yankees. I was actually in spring training the year before. I guess Manny must have said enough flattering things about our program that Alex had one of his trainers call up here, extremely excited, and purchased every single vision training product that we had. We immediately sent the information down to the Coral Gables address that we were told to send it to. And over the course of about 3 or 4 weeks, there was a schedule to have Alex come to New York or for me to go down to the Miami, Florida area. Because of the Christmas holidays and whatnot, we were never able to connect on that follow-up work. But it was interesting, and I guess Alex has to give Manny an assist for this information that he purchased sometime in early November.
Well, apparently he's willing to give him an assist, but not you, at least publicly, right?
Well, Tim, it's interesting. No different when Bernie Williams goes and hits at our facility in White Plains, New York, or Carlos Delgado, when he was with Toronto, frequented our facility in Toronto. Matt Morris, a standout pitcher for the San Francisco Giants, who trained and we provided lessons to him when he was at the amateur level. A guy like Adam Miller, one of the biggest prospects in the Cleveland Indians organization. In my world and in the frozen ropes world, this is all about low profile and high impact.
Gotcha.
Okay, and great athletes will always be great athletes, and the fact that we provide a resource or a product to these great players, that in and of itself is the reward that we're looking for.
I've got about 30 seconds, but I want to ask you, let's say you've got a player, a kid playing Babe Ruth or Pop Warner, at what point do you begin to say, you know what, this is something that we maybe want to look at, or do we have to be careful to be not overly clinical with these kids?
Well, Tim, I can tell you, as it relates to visual mechanics and visual search strategies, a lot of this information was premised on speed reading. At the time, my son was 4 years old. So when you ask, well, when do you get serious about this? My little son Anthony, sitting on my lap in the dark, tracing little laser lights all over his room, right, improving his scan paths, improving his concentration level. This part of the training is for all sports, and it can be introduced in a very fun and interactive way at a very early age.
That's Tony Abbatine. It's Frozen Ropes. You can go to his website, Tony Abbatine, FrozenRopes.com. Thank you, Tony. I really enjoyed this. We'll do it again.
Thanks, Tim.